makes most women start a business? Is it passion, money, or freedom? Welcome to Female Founders, the podcast that takes you behind the scene with women who are founders and CEOs to help you start and scale a successful business of your own. I am your host, Nagelia de Ravin. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Female Founders. In this episode, I have the pleasure of speaking with Alba Contreras Rodriguez, the founder of Funds, which stands for Focus on Solution, a coaching company focused on empowering leaders and teams to achieve their highest potential through executive coaching, team coaching, and group coaching services. Alba has a wealth of experience in many industries, including manufacturing, consulting, and coaching. Join me as I explore Alba's journey, her approach to coaching, and her mission to give women relevance to transformations. Good morning, Alba. You are the founder of Focus on Solution, another way we can say Funds, that provides executive team coaching to leaders. What is the story behind starting your coaching company?
Well, Nagelia, thank you for that question, and I'm so glad to be here with you this morning. The background of my company is that throughout my 30 plus years of experience as an international global executive, one of the things that I was very passionate about was, first of all, my human-centered leadership and the importance of focusing on people. And throughout my career, I noticed that every person, for them to be fully supported throughout their career, coaching is a very key component of that equation. So that was where my interest was born. Actually, I do remember exactly where it was born. When I was a consultant for KPMG, I noticed that I saw myself coaching a lot of my clients. And as I then transferred to a Ford Motor Company, it became much more mainstream for my work. And I would call it one of my critical success factors throughout my career. So coaching has been a passion of mine for a very long, long time. So for me to be able to launch my company, to provide that kind of service to leaders and organizations, it has been absolutely a vision turned into reality for me.
But you said that at the beginning, you said that coaching is very important to organizations and leaders. May I ask why is that so important?
It is important because a lot of the typical actions to develop and grow individuals in an organization is through training. And training and leadership development are very important. But one of the things that is a very important ingredient in that equation is to have an individual component to it. So you can have an individual go through training and leadership development programs, but if that individual is not really focusing on themselves, working on their own, on their inside, then not necessarily the leadership development will be whole. So that is the reason why coaching is so an important element for a leader, for a person to grow. But it has also become very important for teams because every organization is composed of a variety of teams. And teams are really the forces that move an organization. So that's why coaching at the team level is also very important as part of their development and growth so that they can really add value to their stakeholders.
So now you held previously, before you start your own company, you were in the corporate world. So did you also find it like having a coach as a leader was something that's very important to you when you were in the corporate world?
I did. As a matter of fact, in my experience, I had observed how coaches worked with people. And it came a point in my career when I really felt stuck. And I decided to hire my own executive coach. So I wasn't waiting for the organization to invest in me for that. I saw the need and I took action for myself. And really, it was a moment when it was a very, very important support in my life. It was to hire that person and for her to be able to work with me in that journey of transformation. It was absolutely very, very, very important in my career.
Yes, and there's something you said that I really like. You said that you didn't sit there and wait for the organization to invest in you. You invest in yourself. Would you say that that's something leaders should take action to? Because sometimes the company might not want to invest money in getting you a coach, but do you think that themselves, if they really want to go as a leader, they should actually take that step and invest in something like that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And coaching, Nagilia, is something that has evolved. I remember decades ago when I started in corporate, whenever I myself heard the word coaching, the reaction was of skepticism, fear, and it sounded threatening. So whenever we heard somebody having a coach, you would see people's reaction like, ooh, that person is in trouble. So it used to be that coaching used to be used as a very remedial action, as when a leader had come to a point where they had really shown not necessarily the best of their behavior, but they were a person who was competent in their jobs. And it had that tendency. Thankfully, that trend has shifted. And really, coaching is provided by organizations to individuals who are either in a succession planning trajectory, when they want to identify high potential, and when they have a lot of leaders in transitions. So really, coaching has really become more mainstream in the organizations, as well as marrying it, as I said earlier, really combining it with leadership development as a whole.
And I think that coaching also it's important in general, because a lot of times things will come up in your life that you don't have answers to. Maybe that person already been through that, or even if they haven't been through it, but they can guide you in the right direction. Because do you know how many times do we spend time wasting our time trying to figure things out on our own? And sometimes it takes us years to do that because we can't figure it out. And I think that having a coach plays that role. It's like, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. How can you help? And you'll find a coach that can help you, especially a leadership coach. So that also brings me to your company. So can you tell us a little bit more about your companies and the services that it offers?
So at Fonds, we offer coaching to 3 different groups. One is one-on-one executive coaching. So it's working with an individual. And typically that process is either sponsored by the organization or is sponsored by the leader, him or herself. Then the second service we provide is team coaching. And team coaching means working with a group of individuals who are part of a team who have a common team leader in the organization. And the purpose of those engagements typically have to do with making sure that organizations have a high-performing and cohesive team in place that can really add value to their stakeholders and can really think holistically as to how are they delivering the purpose that has been defined by the needs and expectations of those stakeholders. The third piece is group coaching. The difference between group and team coaching, some people may get it confused, but group coaching is really coaching for individuals who may not even necessarily work in the same organization. They may be from different functions. They can be from different companies. They can be from different professions. However, they all have one common interest, one topic that they are interested in exploring for themselves. So the power of the group coaching program is, as research has really shown, that there is really a powerful ability for a person to change when you are part of a group. The accountability is not only being supported by the coach, but also by the group itself. And there is that ability to learn from one another, to really leverage the wisdom of the group and grow together towards a common goal. So those are the three main services.
Yes, and I like that. And I like the group part of it, the way I heard group coaching, but I love the way you put yours together. They don't have to be in the same location or the same company or this. It's just they have a common goal. So they want to, and I love the fact that also, so-and-so is doing this. I can do that too. So let me pull up my game and stay more focused and maybe take an extra hour at nighttime to review my thoughts, to come up with better ideas. So I see where you're going with that.
And at Fonds, we do have a group coaching program called The Cost of Overusing Your Strengths. In that particular program, that is the topic. So that is the goal, the common goal that individuals come together to work around and to grow together and transform themselves.
In that program, you just launched it, right?
I'm sorry?
That program, the one on the cost over using your strength, is that you just launched that one?
I have a signature program that is soon to be launched, but it's something that I have already conducted before, but now this is a special signature program that we put together. Absolutely.
And also, what do you think are the most challenges that leaders face today? And how do you help them overcome these challenges through coaching?
Yes, the main role of a coach is to be a thought and accountability partner to a person, and also a sounding board. The higher you are in an organization, the more lonely it feels. So having a person who can be very objective in a very confidential way, because I follow the ICF credential code of ethics, right? Of confidentiality is of utmost importance in this relationship. And what happens is that when a leader reaches out to a coach, there are very common challenges that they face. First of all, the most common challenge is that they're all trying to navigate what is called the VUCA environment. And VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And I also added a U at the end, which is uncertain. And we all lived through that, through the pandemic. And we're still living some of those consequences. So that's one of the main common challenge for a leader in any industry. And I've had the privilege of coaching leaders across many, many industries. And the uncertainty, the complexity, ambiguity, the volatility exists in every industry. The second piece I would say that's a big challenge for leaders has to do with have you ever heard about the terms that says what got you here won't get you there?
Yes.
So typically when a leader evolves and grows within an organization or even changing organizations, we tend to believe that what really made our brand or made us get rewarded and recognized is what we're going to need in that next role. So having that ability to really identify what are some of those things that you used to do that may not serve you as well as you are moving into a new role. One being, one very, very common, has to do with how did you become more strategic and less tactical, right? How did you learn to really be on the side of the field and not in the field with the players? So those are a couple of examples of things that are very common in the clients that I serve.
Something you said from the beginning that for yourself, the organization wouldn't, you didn't sit there and wait for them to invest in yourself. You get yourself a coach. So now with your organization, can a leader reach out to you without the organization say, hey, can you be my coach as a one-on-one?
Absolutely. If they have the readiness for coaching and they are willing to invest in themselves, absolutely. Absolutely. I've had multiple cases of individuals who have decided to do that. And I've had also instances where the person decided that they were going to invest in themselves. And then they decided, you know what, I'm going to talk about it with my leader. And they got, either half of it approved or all of it approved. So it's also a matter of having the willingness to ask, is this something that the organization would be willing to invest in me?
So do you work with organizations or leaders within the United States only or anywhere in the world?
No, my clients are all over the world. So I've served people in the Americas, from all the way from Canada down to Argentina, in Europe, and also in Asia. So yes, I've had that opportunity to do that because I wanted to. One of the things that I wanted to leverage was my international global experience and the fact that I have led international and global teams. I wanted to be able to have my clients leverage that as part of my value proposition.
So now, do you focus on any industry or it doesn't really matter?
It doesn't really matter. It's interesting because I was in the automotive industry for the majority of my career, both at General Motors and Ford Motor Company. And I really wanted not to be pigeonholed as automotive. So my initial goal, part of my business plan, was to really diversify my portfolio of clients. And that is something that has really worked out very well because I've been able to serve the healthcare industry, technology industry, aerospace, non-for-profit, government. So it has been consumer products. So it has been really, really a very diverse set of industries, and it is simply fascinating to me. It's one of the things that I like, one of the things that I really enjoy.
So would you say that all of this experiences that you had with working in the corporate world, would you say that they help you with your own company right now?
Oh, yes. Yeah, not only my experience, but also having the ability. I did go back to school to get my MBA from University of Michigan Rosa School of Business. And that also provided a lot of insight and knowledge as I decided to become an entrepreneur. Absolutely.
So how was that journey itself? So deciding that, I know that that's something you wanted to do, but decided that to say, I'm going to leave that well-paid corporate job to starting something you don't even know if it's going to work out or not. How was that journey for you?
Well, it's a journey filled with ups and valleys because it's really something that is not for the faint at heart. That is for sure. But I really started to be very curious as to talking with a lot of people and understanding their needs. And in those conversations, I was able to learn that definitely what I had to offer, it was going to be of value and benefit for a lot of people. So I think that gave me the confidence. And I knew that it was going to be important for me to be organized. But I also had to work on something that is very important, which is to seek progress and not for perfection. And it's something that I really early on had to make a very conscious and deliberate decision that my mindset had to shift, and that there was going to be a lot of things that were not going to go the way that I had planned them for, but I was going to get the learnings. And I think that at the beginning or the first few years, it's everything about me doing everything until the moment that I realized if I want to really continue growing my business and scaling, I cannot do it all. So I really now have a team that supports me, and that has allowed me to really be able to continue growing the organization.
God knows we like to, as women, especially as women, sometimes we like to take everything in our shoulder. We like to carry them because we like superwoman, I guess.
That's right. That's right.
And but we burn out very fast. So what you did, I think, was the good step to stop
Yeah.
it. And when we burn out, that's when we can't move on anymore. We get tired,
That's right.
we lose interest, and we walk away from what we are doing. But another question that I have for you, I know Phones, you started it from the heart. When you're talking about it, it's something like you seems very passionate about. What set the company apart from all other coaching company out there?
That's a question I haven't thought about. I believe that I really do this because I love doing it. So I don't see it as doing the job of a coach. I see it as being a coach. And there is a slight difference. And actually, a lot of my work with clients focuses on that. We as humans focus so much on what we do, but not necessarily on who we are. And a lot of that is really driven by the environment, the corporate environment, where we are really focused on what jobs we have, job titles we have, how big our teams are, how much is scope of responsibility. So a lot of has to do with the doing, and that defines many times our identity. And I had to tell you, Naglia, one of the toughest things for me to go through was the moment that I had to go out to a networking event and my name tag only had my name on it. It didn't have the Ford Oval anymore. And that was extremely hard because when people would see Alba Contreras Rodriguez equals Ford Motor Company. And now I didn't have that anymore. I didn't even have my company right as soon as I left. So there were a few months when I was in that period of reflection, retrospection, analysis, and decision making as to what am I going to do next? Where's my passion? Where is my calling? What is my second career? And it was very hard. And that's when I really, really learned and confirmed how much our identity is associated to where we work and what we do. So in terms of really what distinguishes funds from other companies, I think that the fact that I have had the opportunity to be in the shoes of many of the leaders that I coach, I know how it feels. I know the pressures, the automotive industry, but also as a consultant, I have the ability to be exposed to many other industries. So I do understand the pressures, the politics, the unbalances, right, of work and life, the expectations, and not only for women, but also for men, for people of color. It doesn't really matter. A lot of us go through the same struggles, and some more than others. And so I think that because of my coaching approach is empathetic, it's very intuitive, and I would say it is customized, but I was going to say it's structured. I have a structure that I have my clients follow, but it's not rigid because I have to meet the client where the client is at. And I'm not a person to say, oh, this is exactly what we're going to do in this session because the agenda belongs to the client. So my role is to guide them, right? But also to make them feel uncomfortable. And that is something that not everybody is willing to do, but it's part of their readiness for a coaching engagement. Because that when you're able to get a step out of your comfort zone, that's where growth happens. That's when change of behavior really happens.
So when you talk about identity, do you find that a lot of people deal with that, especially the people that you coach?
Oh, absolutely. Again, because it's a given that we have so much of our lives being determined by the what's, the what I do and how I do it, but not necessarily on looking at ourselves in the mirror and really being very self-aware and having the ability to self-manage. So I think that it is one of the major areas of focus. My programs typically focus on three things. One is the self, second is the strategy, and the third is skills. So I typically, the foundation is on the self, right? And I also have a philosophy that not only I've learned through the years from my experience, but I have really been able to prove it that in order for a leader to champion or lead any transformation, the transformation needs to start from within. So that person it doesn't matter what type of transformation it is. It can be a digital transformation. It can be a lean transformation. It can be a D&I transformation, a cultural transformation. It really needs to start from within the leader who is going to be able to role model the change that he or she is expecting to see in others in their organization.
Yeah, listening to you talking, that also made me think of something. I know that you work with organization and leaders, but let's say that a medium company. So the owner, which is the leader of the company, that's probably have about 20 employees. Will that be someone that you will be willing to coach?
It depends. I have had prospects approach me from a small business owners or medium businesses, and I have coached in a couple of occasions. I have coached a small business owners, but who have very high revenue companies. So they're really at a pivot point of really going to a huge growth spur, and they want to make sure that they are prepared for that. So that in those particular cases, I have coached the leader. And in a couple of instances, I have been approached to work with the leadership teams of medium-sized companies as well.
So you have done both pretty much, and you are able to if someone approaches you, does you kind of hint peek which if you want to work with that person or not.
Yes, it's all about fit. So it's important that whenever a person or an organization decides to work with a coach, there needs to be a fit, both for the client, in this case, a leader who's going to be going through the coaching, or a team, and also a fit for the coach. The coach also needs to feel that there is a fit in style, in the challenges, in the chemistry in between the two parties, so that it can really be a successful relationship. And the relationship is based in trust. And that is the beginning of everything.
That's true. If you don't trust your coach, does that mean that you will not stay with that coach for a long time because you don't trust what the coach is coaching you for? So there's no reason behind it all after all.
Yeah, and maybe you wouldn't get the benefits that you could if you fully trusted the coach. Yeah.
So now, how do you balance your role as a coach with your responsibility as an entrepreneur and CEO of funds?
Well, one of the things that I've learned, when I was in my corporate life, work-life integration, I never really called it balance, because when you have something that's balanced, they're equally footed, they have the equal weight, and that really wasn't, because something always was off balance, either my work because I had a family situation, or my life if I had a work situation. So I called it, a more realistic term for me was integration. So during my time in corporate, I had the blessing to have my husband, who really was the person who was a stay-at-home dad. And for me, if I had not had that, it would have been extremely difficult to be able to do the things that I did. And I still have his support today. Now, how I have shifted now that I'm a business owner is that I have had to make a very deliberate decision to take care of myself. Because as a business owner, there are weeks that I've been working 7 days a week.
Yes.
So I really have to, what I do is to really plan ahead. So I book all my appointments ahead of time, either my doctor appointments, my massage appointments, my hair appointments, my nail appointments, all of that ahead in advance so that I know that that time is blocked for me. And to go to the gym 3 times a week. So that is absolutely a top priority on my calendar. And everything goes on my calendar. I don't have a to-do list on a calendar. It's something that I coach my clients onto. Everything is on my calendar. So there is no way of forgetting. And
Yes.
It's going to be a commitment to myself because I really need to not only take care of myself because of me, but I also need to model for my clients. How can I be coaching my clients on self-care if they don't see that I'm taking care of myself?
And not only that, you show up rarely all the time too, because you are happy, you are healthy, and you are ready to give your best to your clients and also to
Exactly.
your family. And I think that's one thing a lot of business owners it's a big problem for a lot of business owners because we don't
Yes.
know how to manage between the family, the personal, the business, and then sometimes it can be a whole lot of messes. And managing it's important. And that's something. It seems like that's something also you do within your coaching, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it is a very neglected area in a lot of people, right? It's not thinking about self-care. Sometimes I feel even like guilty. Like, how can I take care of myself? I need to take care of my loved ones. I need to take care of my team. I need to take care of my community. And it really, if you know when you take a flight, the flight attendant instructions is when there is a change in pressure, the oxygen mask will come down, and the first instruction they say is that you have to put your own oxygen mask on first before you can help others. And that's really the metaphor, right? Is that it is very important for us to be able to serve others, to take care of ourselves and put ourselves first.
Yes. So now, how can someone reach out to you for your services?
So my website is www.focusonsolution.com. And there you can go and learn more about me and my company and our services. You can book a call. You can also reach out to me through LinkedIn. Look for my name, Alba Contreras Rodriguez. Look on the profile, reach out that way. You can also email us at info@focusonsolution.com. So there are multiple ways that you can get a hold of us, and we'll be more than happy to have a conversation.
Before I let you go, I have one more question for you. And I think that's something that a lot of people are struggling with. When they are looking for a coach, they don't know the qualities, what they should be looking for. So what advice do you have for people, that leaders, when they are looking for a coach, what should they look for? What should they look into a coach for before they even say yes to that coach?
Well, I really, and this was part of my decision making when I said I'm going to launch my business and become an official, formal coach, is that I went to school for it. So I wanted to not only have the knowledge and skills from coaching school, but also become credentialed by the International Coaching Federation. So I am what is called a PCC, a professional certified coach, which is the second of 3 levels. So you have ACC, PCC, or MCC. And I'm also certified by the EMCC, which is the equivalent to ICF in Europe, as a team coaching practitioner. So I would say that one of the things to look for is does the person have the qualifications, the skills to be a coach? Number 2, you can look for referrals or testimonials. Like if you go to my website, you can read some of the testimonials of my clients. And the third thing is to have that conversation, what is called a chemistry call, and is to see if there is a fit, as I mentioned earlier. Is there a fit? Is this the person that you would trust to work with you, to help you grow, to help you achieve your highest potential? So those would be the three things that I would suggest to look for.
Well, thank you so much, Alba, for taking the time to speak with me, for sharing your knowledge and all of that experience that you have, that you're using it to support others, to support leaders, to help them grow. And God knows we need more of that after COVID, more leaders to lead us to the right path in life. So I thank you for all you do for supporting other women and for your hard work. And I appreciate meeting other women that's actually, how do I say that? Rocking it?
Thank you so much, Anglia. It's been a pleasure to have this conversation with you this morning.
Thank you for listening to Female Founders Podcast. That's it for this week's episode. Be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast app or connect with us on womel.com so that you don't miss our next episode. See you next time. Bye for now.